But no, one of them we might talk about later by the name of Evan Ingram. Denny, you're the waivers guy. You mentioned my column. Your column is waiver wired. It will be live by the time most of you are listening to this. Maybe not if you're listening on late Monday evening, but I believe I didn't even have to look. I think I confirmed this. Your top ad at the wide receiver position, the number one waivers guy I wanted to talk about this week, Garrett Wilson. He went from 8 targets in week 1, already good for a rookie making his NFL debut, to 14 in week 2. He had 164 air yards. He turned that into 8 catches for 104 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, all this is extra crazy because even you could argue he left some meat on the bone, where he was still number 3 in snaps behind Corey Davis and Elijah Moore. But just like a shockingly good game from Garrett Wilson. And just tell the folks, so Garrett Wilson is a priority ad, correct? And just what can we expect going forward?
Yeah, I'm trying not to be too reactive here because
there's a huge variable in New York.
Right. I don't want to say that Elijah Moore is like the clear number 2 now or anything. We can't help but notice that the routes ticked up for Garrett Wilson, that the only reason his snaps were lower than Corey Davis and Elijah Moore was because they took him out on running plays. Like,
that's what we want for Kittle.
Yeah,
get him off the field, please. Running plays.
But and so everything looks up. He led the Jets this week. Talking about Garrett Wilson with almost a 32% target share, and again had a gaudy target per route run rate of 38%. He had a nice rate in week 1 as well. It all suffices to say this Jets team stinks. Okay, they're going to be chasing points. They have
to the Browns
one of the highest. I know they have one of the highest neutral pass rates in the league, and obviously Garrett Wilson is going to be out there running a ton of routes. And something I think we forgot about, at least I did, is that he was a top 10 pick. Yeah. He's a top. It's not like we were like projecting like great things for a second or third round pick. Like, he was a top 10 pick, and he has looked the part of a lead receiver. I think, again, not saying you can't start Elijah Moore, but having Moore and Garrett Wilson in that offense is great. Now, the one thing that could stop this Garrett Wilson train is obviously Zach Wilson.
Yes.
And so that's why I'd like to pump the proverbial brakes a little bit on Garrett Wilson, because if you dump all your fab budget into Garrett Wilson, and then in 2 weeks Zach Wilson is back in the saddle and looking the way he looks, then you're kind of stuck. So hopefully Flacco keeps the job. I think it's not possible. It's not possible.
It's not possible, no.
But I do think that the fantasy prospects for Garrett Wilson are way better with Flacco.
They might do the same thing they did last year, where like, Zach, just take another week or 2 to heal up, and where they give him 2 more starts by another name. But man, I'm glad. So Elijah Moore isn't the biggest impediment, I think, to Garrett Wilson, which is so weird because Elijah Moore, he's dominated 2 straight summers for the Jets. He produced with 4 different quarterbacks last year. Like, he's clearly an above average NFL player already, but he's not a top 10 pick. He's not a guy capable of just dominating on the outside and down the field the way Garrett Wilson is. And I do think it's just a matter of time at this point before Garrett Wilson passed Elijah Moore. And I kind of thought that all along, just because you cannot ignore that real life draft capital.
Yeah.
So Elijah Moore is an impediment, but he's not the impediment where it definitely is. I mean, Joe Flacco has 103 attempts through 2 games.
That's amazing.
Just like mind-boggling.
Yeah.
I mean, whose plan would that be? Like, literally, I feel like only the New York Jets could come up with the 103 attempt Joe Flacco plan.
Something I'll have in the waiver column on Tuesday is that while Garrett Wilson was targeted on nearly 40% of his routes against the Browns, Elijah Moore was targeted on 10% of his routes. So there's a huge gap in priority for these receivers.
But Garrett Wilson, he could have to deal with the same thing Elijah Moore did. Where like every time Elijah Moore got hot last year, there was like a new quarterback, and he eventually got hot with that quarterback every day. Again, he produced with 4 different signal callers, but it is just going to be a season of stops and starts, I feel like, for Garrett Wilson. And there's a path to maybe being top 36 every week, but I don't know if there's a path to being like a season-changing waiver wire ad, say like the way Odell Beckham was in 2014.
I don't think so. Yeah, I doubt that. I will say that if you're good at receiver, if you're fine at receiver, I don't see like a very compelling reason to go out and burn a waiver ad on Garrett Wilson. Like, say you have the top pick this week, you're good at receiver, you're adding someone else. I don't think that you need to reach for Garrett Wilson. You don't have to have him depending on your roster.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and Rotoworld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, okay, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from Rotoworld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.